Marcin, welcome to Digital Transformation Bite Size. This is a series where I interview experts and thought leaders in the digital transformation space so that folks out in the internet can learn a little bit more about you and the products that you like, recommend, or involved in. Welcome, sir. How are you today?
Hi, Kieran. Thank you. I'm very well, thanks. And, thank you for giving me an opportunity to be part of your series.
Fantastic. Marcin, for the people who don't know you, would you mind letting them know who you are, who you work for, and what do you do, sir?
Happy to do so. So I have spent over 20 years working for various enterprise software vendors. Prior to that, I did a little bit of consulting around IT all over the place. So I've actually been working with 200 plus different countries, in my career. So that's a big number. I love to travel. I love to meet a lot of people. Recently, I've took a role as managing director for my own business, Biami.io, where we work on intelligent automation. We've got our own technology, and specifically, I focus on 3 areas in that business. That is, leading a strategy for the business, our go-to-markets, and partnerships.
Fantastic.
So that's what I do.
Oh, lovely. And how are Biami doing, by the way?
We're doing pretty well, thank you. So we're still, I call it a startup stage. I still call it day one, right? But all the things are going in the right direction. So we just need to focus on, executing the plans that we have. And for the next year, we're going to have, a new plans and so on and so on. And yes, if things progress, as they progress now, then I think, everything will be, really nice.
So if I was to ask you a question, Marcin, what excites you about the digital transformation space?
I was born at a time where, around, I was age of 10, the whole computer industry started. So, as a young boy, I started to play with computers quite well, and all this kind of digital space, really excited me. I think one important part is really a usefulness of, digital transformation. I think, that digital transformations will give us 2 really, really important things. One is allows us to be more competitive, so it gives us competitive advantage. It gives us opportunity to do our work better. That's one. And number 2 is entertainment. Look, we use digital for our entertainment as well. So actually being able to use digital technologies for these 2 areas, actually you can get quite a lot of things for us as human beings.
Marcin, have you always wanted a career in technology, or what attracted you to the technology industry in general?
That's a very interesting question. And I think I've never actually thought about it that way. It's just naturally a technology, became part of my life, from an early life. And it just came naturally that, when I finished the school and I did, master's in economics, that the whole computer era started, and just naturally I wanted to do something what I like, and those were all those things around computers and technology that we do today. And yes, it has progressed quite a lot over those years, but it is still very exciting, and still very interesting these days.
What attracted you to Biami, by the way? Was it your interest in technology or something else?
Well, working for a startup, after many years spent in an enterprise space, it's really fun. Like, number one, it's really, really fun. Of course, there is a longer story, behind Biami. The whole idea behind Biami actually, started around, 20 years ago, when I was working for one of the biggest software vendors that introduced that large ERP system that was working according to your business processes, and you could then amend those processes and change them in the way that your business works. So, that changed the behavior of the software. And I think this is still, very, very big value for you to be able to, run your software, your technology that way. And that's really, what Biami does. So, within Biami, we also build, automation processes, RPAs, IT automation, in line with your business processes. We are just much, much more lightweight and I think much more fun to work with.
I like the sound of fun to work with as well there. So what type of companies do you best work with?
At the moment, we are focusing on companies that are looking for an innovation and genuine innovation. So not just the companies that will come and say, yes, we will do certain things. Our company mantra, our headline is, we deliver 10x performance improvement for the business. So start working with Biami. You not only need to, get that as a marketing buzz, but you genuinely should be thinking of what is that you can do to improve that performance, by 10x. And that's really 10x. So you need to think about, a lot of things that needs to happen, starting from, the top to the very bottom.
Did I see on your website as well mentions of open source software? Is yours an open source product?
Absolutely, yes. So if you look at my LinkedIn profile, I've spent a vast amount of time working for enterprise open source software vendors, and that was by my choice. It wasn't by coincidence. This is because I do believe in open source as the best way to deliver the best value for the clients, for the ecosystem, for everybody. So you're absolutely right. We are an open source vendor, and we're building enterprise open source intelligent automation software and solutions using Biami technology that we've developed.
There's a lot of misconceptions out on the market about open source software. If I've read once, I've read it numbers of times. It's free, it's not secure, it's not for enterprise customers. What are the misconceptions that you have heard, and what would you respond to people who make those statements? What would you like to say?
Yes, that's a big one. And I love this question because I actually not only believe, but I can prove that open source is not only, a good approach, but it is actually the way to do it. So there are a few things here. First, you need to look at genuine enterprise open source vendors. Those vendors will have enterprise contracts that are commercial contracts and licenses for the software that are much, much better than actually, any other commercial vendors that are non-open source, will provide you with, right? It's not free. It's not free. It's never free, but it is supported by the vendor. It actually allows all the clients to improve the product by collaboration and contribute bit by bit to actually, make a product better and better. From security perspective, I would say don't be misled by any security claims, because in fact any non-commercial software will run a lot of open source libraries and code at the back end as well. So in fact you will use actually a lot of open source technologies within non-open source software as well. And the features and the security levels will be the same. The fact that it is open source actually allows you to do an audit of what you have, much better audit and much faster. That actually allows you to fix any issues that you might see, security features, etc. So it is actually a much better way, to build solutions with open source rather than being in a kind of closed source commercial vendors. We know that those vendors go through various stages up until like really non-customer non-customer focused, which I think everybody experienced in the enterprise with the biggest vendors. Where open source it's a little bit different. It's always about the collaboration. It is always about customers, about communities, about ecosystems. And again, the guarantees, the indemnifications you get with contracts are exactly the same as you get with commercial vendors, but you can influence the roadmap of the product. And you work really with vendors, and that is a big difference that we see on the market.
Gosh, it's not often that we're reminded that open source software isn't a large number of the vendors' products. So it's good to hear that. And it's good to hear that those arguments been dispelled. If you were talking to customers and you follow the route for people getting into intelligent automation or automation, whatever we want to call it, a lot of them go for the reports that are available, the analyst reports like Forrester, Gartner, HFS, all the really big companies in the market. And then they tend to look at the top 10. They tend to read some of the information. I suspect sometimes they don't, and then pick a product. You don't often see open source RPA products in that list. Is that a deliberate choice not to get involved?
I think every vendor makes their own decision on when they want to start talk to the analysts, right? And the relationships with analysts are very important, because this is definitely one thing that you cannot screw on. This is like really, really important. It will be really, really difficult to rebuild it if it goes the wrong way. For that reason, again, every company should make its own decision on when they want to start these conversations, how they want to share, and what they want to share. I think you will see that RPA overall, I see it being still at a very early stage. So you will see a lot of maturity happening in the market itself, not just from the definition perspective, but also what is included in the RPA space and so on. So probably within next few years, you will see that that it becomes more what I call enterprise ready space. And I think at that time, some open source vendors will also catch up with proprietary vendors, and will reach the top right corners with those analysts, and you will see them there. As you know, a lot of open source vendors are privately funded as well. So sometimes those vendors need to make decision like on what is that they're spending money on, and what is that they're spending their time on. So yes, those are, I think, the reasons why for now you still don't see a lot of them. It's still pretty much ruled by by the vendors that were first. Okay, but I think within the next couple of years you will see changes happening there.
I think that'll be the interesting space for me, because I'm really looking forward to seeing an open source RPA or intelligent automation product appearing in a vendor report. I do think sometimes they get too much emphasis, because I really would love folks to go out and pick the piece of software that best suits them, and not to knock the analyst report, because some very, very good ones out there. I just wish people would look a little bit beyond the reports. And if they still end up with one of the top 10 or so-called top 10, fantastic. But equally speaking, I find they're maybe denying themselves a large variety of choice, including open source RPA vendors who really are competent, who they should be examining as well. Like the price point and the security and everything else that you mentioned is really, really key. It's really, really strong in all the offerings that I've seen in my recent study. I think that showed about the top 11 or 15 top open source RPA providers. So I'd love folks to look a little bit more. If you were encouraging people Marcin, to come to Miami, what would be the key strengths of your product that people should be interested in?
I think from our product perspective, I think you need to look at what is that you really want to achieve. We initially built a Miami technology to be able to build pretty advanced automation solutions and deliver automation at scale. So if you are looking to build more complex solutions, and deliver automation at scale. That is what our sweet spot is. So think of it as, if you're looking for just individual features like, an RPA and so on, you will probably find, a better product, right? Just to do a desktop automation. But if you're thinking of, finding a good technology framework that scales very well, that, delivers a complete solutions, and we've got, RPA, we've got business process automation, we've got IPA automations, and, you can use open source, apps, technologies on top to build, dashboards, applications, and so on, and scale it, very nicely in the cloud, then that's what we do.
Where do you see your product and possibly the open source RPA product space moving in the next couple of years?
I think what hasn't happened a lot in open source, automation space is that we were not very successful in open sourcing it itself yet, because the maturity is still in what I would call still not very early stage, but still stage one. Then I would say the next natural step for all open source vendors would be to start sharing, right? And this is part of our DNA. This is part of what we do as open source vendors. Now, a lot of vendors will start sharing the code because they think open source, being as a software that you can look at the code and see how it works and so on. Actually, at Biami, we want to take it a little bit further. So we are gonna, well, our code is open source already, but we will start sharing more and more knowledge within the ecosystem. So we will take the open source approach, not just to technical development, developer community, but we will actually take it to a business community. Think of it, we're already within, our intelligent business services, we're already sharing a most common template on, how to build, anything as a service, type of deployments. So we're doing that already for intelligent business operations. We will be actually sharing a specific applications that will help you to actually accelerate your your automation journey. So that's I think what you're going to see is more and more openness and more adoption and building ecosystems of people, not just the technical ecosystems of people around the open source products.
I love that idea, open sourcing the open source community. I really, really love it. It brings it back to the spirit and the essence of why people got involved. Marcin, if people want to find out a little bit more about Biami, what do they do? How should they contact you? How should they contact the company?
Of course. So first, we are just redesigning our website to make it more business focused. So that's step number one. That's where you can go. And on that, you will actually see that first you need to pick what part of the proposition you would like to work with us on. And we have three areas. What I've mentioned already. Being intelligent business services for you to automate kind of any type of offering and start offering as a service model with the cloud transformations. The traditional what we call intelligent business operations is second area, and the third one is intelligent business development, where we build actually solutions and platforms to improve performance of specific teams by 10x. So you can definitely go on a website. You can definitely look at what we have there. On the website we have our phone numbers, we have our email addresses, and we have even one very simple address, which is biami.io, that we'll use really for pretty much anything. Internally, our systems work that if you send a support ticket to that email address, it will be routed to the support. If you're going to ask for some consulting related questions, it will be routed to people who can help you with that. If you send a generic questions, then you will reach out to these people too. Of course, you can find me personally on LinkedIn as well. So feel free to connect with me, and and I'm always happy to have a conversation, and talk about how we can help you, and really from automation perspective, like we start every conversation around the value that we will bringing to our customers, with intelligent automation and that 10x performance improvement. So I think we're quite open. We're not hiding anywhere. You can very easily find us.
Fantastic, sir. Thank you so much indeed. Look, I really appreciate you coming and talking to me today. I wish you and Biami every success in the future. Folks, be good, stay safe, and until the next time we talk, I'll see you online. Thanks, Marcin.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. And yeah, everybody stay healthy, these days, and see you soon.